My precious soul, pause everything right now, because what you are about to hear is not random. It is not coincidence. It is not a normal message scrolling across your screen. Michael is shouting from the heavens. Jesus has ordered you to see this before the next 15 minutes end. Something serious is coming into your life. Yes, you read that correctly. This is a divine interruption. Not tomorrow. Not next week. Before the next 15 minutes end, heaven wants your full attention. And the reason is urgent. There is a spiritual shift approaching your life like a fast-moving storm. You have sensed it. You have felt a strange pressure lately. A tension you cannot explain. A heaviness in your spirit. And you kept asking yourself, why do I feel like something is about to happen? Because it is. And Archangel Michael has been assigned to stand at the edge of your situation, raising his voice from the heavenly realms. This is not a whisper. This is a shout. A warning mixed with protection. A revelation mixed with urgency. Jesus himself has permitted this message to reach you at this exact moment. Out of billions of people, why you? Because your name was mentioned. There is something serious approaching your life. Not to destroy you, but to test what hath been built inside you. What is coming will reveal who truly stands with you and who has been pretending. It will uncover hidden intentions. It will expose silent envy. It will shake relationships that were never meant to survive your next level. And heaven does not want you blindsided. Listen carefully. The next 15 minutes in your spiritual timeline are symbolic. It represents a short window of preparation, a final call before transition. You are standing between two seasons. Behind you is confusion. In front of you is confrontation and elevation. But elevation always attracts resistance. Archangel Michael is shouting because there is movement in the unseen realm. There are decisions being made about you. Doors opening. Yours closing. Conversations happening about your name that you are unaware of. And something serious is about to knock. Not everything serious is negative. Sometimes what feels heavy is actually heaven rearranging your surroundings. Sometimes the discomfort is the sound of chains breaking. But here is the key. You must be spiritually alert. You have been too relaxed lately. Too distracted. Too comfortable with things that were slowly draining your energy. Michael is not shouting to scare you. He is shouting to wake you up. Jesus has ordered this message before the next 15 minutes end because delay would cost you clarity. There is a woman connected to your environment whose true motives are about to surface. You have felt a strange shift in her behavior, a subtle inconsistency, a sweetness that feels rehearsed, a smile that doesn't reach the eyes. You tried to ignore it, but heaven did not. What is coming will expose what hath been hidden. Conversations will come to light. Truth will rise without you having to fight. And when it happens, do not react emotionally. React spiritually. Archangel Michael stands as a warrior of truth. When he shouts, deception trembles. When he moves, hidden agendas collapse. And right now, he is positioned near your household. Yes, the place you rest. The place you call safe. Because the house you are living in carries spiritual history. Energy from past arguments. Past tears, past disappointments, and something serious will attempt to disturb its peace. But it will not succeed, because this message reached you in time. Before the next 15 minutes end, you must do one thing: shift your mindset from fear to authority. What is coming is not greater than the power assigned to protect you. You are not about to be attacked without defense. You are being prepared with insight. The shouting from heaven is not chaos. It is command. Jesus has spoken your name. And when he orders attention, it means destiny is moving. Something serious is entering your life. A conversation, a revelation, a decision, an exposure. It may feel intense at first. It may shake your emotions. But it is necessary for your next chapter. You cannot carry hidden betrayal into your new season. You cannot elevate while surrounded by disguised negativity. This is a divine separation moment. And here is what most people will not tell you. When heaven exposes someone around you, it is not to embarrass them. It is to protect you. Archangel Michael is shouting because silence would have harmed you. There has been spiritual surveillance over your situation. Patterns have been watched. Words have been weighed. Intentions have been measured. And now, the verdict is ready to surface. Do not panic when it begins. Do not overreact when truth reveals itself. Stand still. Because what is serious is not meant to destroy you. It is meant to reposition you. The next 15 minutes represent awareness, alertness, alignment. Something is shifting in your household atmosphere. You may even feel it as you listen to this. A tightening in your chest. A sudden seriousness in your thoughts. A deep realization that this message feels personal. That is because it is. Michael does not shout for no reason. And Jesus does not order attention without purpose. You were chosen to hear this before it unfolds so that when it happens, you will not say, "Why me?" Instead, you will say, "I was warned. I was prepared. I was covered." What is coming will separate truth from illusion, loyalty from convenience, support from jealousy. And when it finishes, you will breathe differently, stronger, clearer, free. Take this moment seriously, not with fear, but with focus, because heaven just interrupted your scrolling for a reason. And this is only the beginning. Listen closely now, because what I am about to reveal connects directly to the seriousness that is approaching your life. The warning from heaven was not symbolic drama. It was a measured announcement. There is a shift happening not only around you, but within you. And this internal shift is what will determine how the external situation unfolds. You have been sensing a strange emotional fluctuation lately. One moment you feel calm, the next moment you feel unsettled without knowing why. That is not random. When spiritual exposure is about to take place, your spirit becomes sensitive before your mind understands. You begin to feel tension in environments that once felt normal. You begin to notice tone changes, small behavioral inconsistencies, and subtle distance in someone who used to feel aligned with you. Archangel Michael is not shouting in chaos. He is sounding a trumpet of readiness. There is an unveiling coming, and it will happen in a way that leaves no confusion. You will not have to investigate. You will not have to accuse. The truth will present itself clearly. But here is what heaven wants you to understand before it does. Do not respond from wounded emotion. Respond from spiritual authority. The situation that is coming into your life will test your maturity. It will test your silence. It will test whether you truly trust divine protection or whether you still feel the need to defend yourself aggressively. What is serious is not just the exposure itself. What is serious is how you handle it. Jesus has ordered you to see this before the next 15 minutes, and because reaction determines outcome. If you react impulsively, you may delay your breakthrough. But if you remain grounded, you will watch the situation work in your favor. There is someone connected to your daily environment who underestimated your discernment. This person believed their subtle manipulation would go unnoticed. They believed small contradictions would never align into a pattern. But heaven sees patterns that humans ignore. Heaven listens to conversations spoken behind closed doors. And heaven measures intention more than performance. The reason this exposure is necessary is because your next level cannot accommodate hidden sabotage. You are about to step into an opportunity, a decision, or a breakthrough that requires clean energy around you. And anything that carries hidden resistance must be revealed before you arrive there. This is why the warning feels urgent. The next 15 minutes in your spiritual timeline symbolize immediate preparation. It means align your thoughts, calm your emotions, strengthen your awareness. Something will surface sooner than you expect. It may begin as a small conversation. It may appear as an accidental revelation. It may even come through someone else unintentionally revealing what was meant to stay concealed. When it happens, you will remember this moment. Archangel Michael stands not only as a warrior, but as a guardian of divine order. When disorder tries to infiltrate your peace, he intervenes. And right now, intervention has already begun. Pay attention to your household atmosphere. There may be slight agitation in the air, minor disagreements, sudden mood shifts. These are signals of spiritual rearrangement. When truth rises, tension briefly increases. But tension is temporary. Clarity is permanent. You are not being warned to create fear. You are being warned to activate wisdom. And here is something important. Do not isolate yourself emotionally when this begins. Do not shut down. Do not assume everyone is against you. The exposure is targeted, not widespread. Heaven is precise. If this message resonates deeply, if you feel that inner confirmation that this is speaking directly to your situation, then engage with it. Like this video so the message can reach someone else who may also need this warning. Share it with someone you trust. Leave a comment declaring that you are prepared and protected. Subscribe to this channel and become part of this growing spiritual community. When you engage, you align yourself with the flow of this message, and you help amplify what heaven is releasing. There is a reason you were led here, and there is a reason you are still listening. What is coming is not meant to crush you. It is meant to clear space. It is meant to remove confusion. It is meant to position you correctly before elevation. You have been praying for progress. You have been asking for clarity. Sometimes clarity arrives as confrontation. Sometimes progress begins with separation. But do not mistake temporary discomfort for permanent loss. The seriousness of what is coming lies in its timing. It will feel sudden. It will feel intense. But it will also feel undeniable. And when the moment arrives, breathe. Remember that you were warned from heaven. Remember that Jesus ordered your awareness. Remember that Archangel Michael is not shouting in panic, but in protection. You are not alone in this shift. You are covered in it. What is about to unfold will prove who truly stands with you and who was only standing near you. And once the dust settles, you will realize that what felt serious was actually strategic. Stay mentally alert. Stay spiritually grounded. Because what unfolds next will reveal more than you expected. Beloved one, what you are about to understand now is deeper than exposure. It is about alignment. The seriousness that is coming into your life is not an accident of fate. It is a scheduled correction. Heaven has allowed certain behaviors to continue around you for a time, not because they were approved, but because they were being measured. Every whisper, every hidden intention, every subtle act of disloyalty has been observed. And now, the measuring season is ending. Archangel Michael is not only shouting as a warning. He is declaring that the line has been drawn, There comes a moment when patience in the spirit realm shifts into action. You have been more tolerant than you should have been. You gave the benefit of the doubt too many times. You fused inconsistencies. You ignored your intuition. But your spirit kept nudging you, saying something is not right. That nudge was not anxiety. It was discernment. Jesus has ordered you to see this before the next 15 minutes end because heaven does not want you to misinterpret what is about to happen. When the truth surfaces, it may feel disappointing. It may even feel like betrayal. But do not allow your emotions to label it as loss. It is release. There is a woman whose energy around you has shifted. Her words sometimes carry sweetness, but her actions carry subtle competition. She smiles in agreement, but internally she measures herself against you. This has created invisible tension in your environment. And tension cannot coexist with elevation. You are stepping into a new level of favor. And favor exposes friction. What makes this situation serious is not the person alone. It is the timing. You are at the edge of a breakthrough. A new opportunity. A decision that will shape your next season. And hidden opposition cannot travel with you. Archangel Michael stands as a guardian of thresholds. When you are about to cross into new territory, he ensures that what follows you is clean. That is why the exposure is necessary. It is not revenge. It is refinement. In the coming days, it will be a revealing conversation. It may not be dramatic. It may not be loud. In fact, it might be quiet and undeniable. Something will be said, or something will be uncovered, that confirms everything you have been sensing. And when it happens, resist the urge to react immediately. Silence will be your strength. The seriousness lies in your response. If you argue, you give the situation more energy. If you remain calm, you let truth defend itself. Heaven is orchestrating this carefully. You are not required to fight. You are required to observe. Remember this. Exposure is protection in disguise. You asked for clarity. This is clarity arriving. You asked for alignment. This is alignment correcting itself. You asked for elevation. This is the removal of weight. There is also something shifting inside your household atmosphere. Old emotional residue is being cleared. The heaviness you have felt in certain rooms will begin to lift. The restless nights will begin to settle. The reason is simple. When hidden tension is brought into light, its power dissolves. But before that peace arrives, there will be a moment of seriousness. A pause. A realization that something has changed permanently. Do not fear permanence. Some connections are seasonal. Some roles in your life were temporary. Not everyone assigned to your past is permitted in your future. And that is not cruelty. That is divine order. Archangel Michael's shout is echoing because heaven does not whisper when destiny is near. Destiny requires clarity. Destiny requires courage. Destiny requires separation from subtle sabotage. And you are ready, even if you do not feel ready. The next 15 minutes symbolize decision. Will you trust what is revealed? Will you accept what is shown? Or will you cling to comfort? Something serious is coming into your life, but it is not greater than the authority protecting you. It will test your composure, but it will also confirm your growth. You are no longer the version of yourself that tolerated confusion. You are stepping into strength. When the moment unfolds, breathe deeply. Stand firmly. Speak less. Observe more. Let truth stand on its own feet. Because after this exposure, clarity will flood your path. And once clarity arrives, peace follows. If this message is piercing your spirit and you feel the weight of its truth, then respond in faith. Type "I receive divine clarity" in the comments if this is speaking directly to your life. Blessing code 444 has just been released over your situation. And now hear this clearly. When you sow into a word that protects your destiny, you are not supporting a channel. You are fueling a mission that rescues souls from confusion. Scripture declares that when you give, it is given back, pressed down and overflowing, and today that promise breathes over you. As this message exposes what was hidden, your seed becomes light in someone else's darkness. I feel led to say this. I will not let this warning pass without responding. When you release a super thanks, join membership, or give through the PayPal link in the description, you are placing oil in the lamp of this ministry so it keeps burning. This is a prophetic moment, not a casual donation. Those who sow into protection reap covering in their own household. Step into obedience and activate your support now. The atmosphere around you is shifting, and this is only unfolding exactly as it must. Hear this with a steady heart, because what unfolds after exposure is just as important as the exposure itself. When truth rises to the surface, it creates a moment of silence in the spirit, a pause, a recalibration, and that is where you are standing now. The seriousness that was announced is beginning to take form, not as chaos, but as clarity. You may already notice subtle shifts. The energy in conversations feels different. The atmosphere in your home feels like it is holding its breath. There is less pretending now, less artificial warmth. Something invisible has been disrupted, and though nothing dramatic may have happened yet, you can sense that the ground beneath your situation is no longer the same. This is the effect of divine intervention. Archangel Michael does not only shout warnings, he enforces boundaries. When heaven draws a line, unseen forces adjust. What was hidden becomes uncomfortable. What was manipulative becomes unstable. And what was pretending becomes exposed by its own inconsistency. You might feel an urge to confront someone directly. You might rehearse conversations in your mind, imagining what you will say when the moment arrives. But pause. Not every truth needs your voice to be validated. Some truths collapse simply by being seen. There is strength in composure. The seriousness entering your life is not meant to create drama. It is meant to create decision. And decisions reshape destiny. You are approaching a fork in the road. One direction keeps you entangled in cycles of subtle tension. The other direction requires courage but leads to peace. Heaven is guiding you toward peace. But peace sometimes requires letting go of familiar faces. That is the part people struggle with. Familiarity creates comfort, even when it carries quiet stress. You may have grown used to certain behaviors. You may have normalized subtle disrespect. You may have tolerated emotional inconsistency because it felt easier than confrontation. But your spirit has outgrown tolerance. Jesus ordered this message before the next 15 minutes, and because the window for passive acceptance is closing, you are no longer in a season where you can ignore red flags. You are stepping into a season of spiritual authority. Authority is calm. Authority is observant. Authority does not panic. If the woman connected to your situation attempts to explain herself before you even confront her, pay attention. Sometimes guilt speaks before accusation. Sometimes nervousness reveals what logic tries to hide. Watch patterns. Watch timing. Watch tone. You do not need to investigate aggressively. Truth will volunteer itself. What makes this phase serious is not confrontation alone. It is the emotional shift you must manage. When illusions break, disappointment tries to rush in. You may feel a moment of sadness, not because you were wronged, but because you hoped you were wrong about your suspicion. It is painful to be correct about betrayal, but clarity is still a gift. Archangel Michael stands not only as a warrior, but as a stabilizer. When emotional waves try to pull you into reaction, he anchors your spirit. Call upon that steadiness internally. You will feel a calm that does not match the situation, a peace that feels almost unusual. It is protection settling over you. Something else is happening behind the scenes. As one connection weakens, another alignment strengthens. You may not see it yet, but heaven never removes without preparing replacement. There is someone entering your life soon who carries sincerity instead of comparison, support instead of silent competition, peace instead of subtle pressure. But space must be created first. The seriousness you were warned about is a doorway event. It is not the end of something valuable. It is the end of something limiting. And limits cannot follow you into expansion. Pay attention to your dreams during this period. Pay attention to repeated thoughts. When the spirit realm is active, communication becomes symbolic. You may dream of doors closing, rooms being rearranged, conversations unfinished. These are not random images. They are reflections of internal processing. Stay grounded. Drink water. Rest when needed. Do not allow overthinking to consume your clarity. This is not a battle you need to fight daily. It is a shift that is already underway. There will come a moment very soon when the truth becomes undeniable. When that moment arrives, respond with dignity. Short words, direct tone, no excessive explanation. Your composure will speak louder than emotion ever could. And once it passes, you will feel something unexpected. Relief. Because deep down, you have been carrying the weight of suspicion for longer than you realized. And suspicion is heavy. When truth confirms what intuition sensed, the weight lifts. That lifting is freedom. You are not losing. You are refining your circle. You are protecting your peace. You are stepping into a more aligned chapter. The shout from heaven was not an exaggeration. It was preparation. Now preparation is becoming manifestation. Stand firm. Remain calm. Observe closely. Because what unfolds next will not only confirm the warning, it will confirm your growth. There is a moment in every divine transition where silence becomes louder than words. It is the moment you are approaching now. The seriousness that was announced is no longer distant. It is hovering close, pressing gently against your reality, waiting for the exact second to reveal itself fully. You may have already noticed small cracks forming in the surface of someone's behavior, a contradiction that cannot be explained away, a defensive reaction where none was necessary, a shift in tone when certain topics arise. These are not coincidences. They are signals that pressure is building behind the mask. When truth is about to surface, it creates discomfort in the one hiding it. Archangel Michael's earlier warning was not dramatic exaggeration. It was strategic preparation. Heaven does not expose prematurely. Exposure happens when timing aligns with your readiness. And you are ready now, even if your emotions feel uncertain. A woman, connected to your environment, is sensing the shift. She may not fully understand it, but she feels that something is changing. That is why her energy seems restless. That is why conversations feel slightly forced. When hidden motives begin to lose their covering, they become unstable. You must remain steady. This is not the time to test loyalty with indirect comments. It is not the time to send signals hoping someone confesses. Let the process unfold naturally. Divine exposure does not require manipulation. It requires patience. Something serious is coming into your life. and it carries two layers. The first layer is revelation. The second layer is repositioning. The revelation may feel intense, but the repositioning will feel liberating. Think about how long you have been sensing that something was off. How many times you dismissed your intuition. How often you chose harmony over honesty. You were trying to preserve peace. But peace built on avoidance is fragile. Now peace will be built on truth. Jesus ordered you to see this before the next 15 minutes end because your reaction window matters. When the revelation occurs, there will be a temptation to defend yourself emotionally. You may feel misunderstood. You may feel frustrated that you were placed in a position of subtle competition without your consent. But remember this: when someone competes with you secretly, it reveals their insecurity, not your threat. You are not responsible for how others measure themselves against you. Archangel Michael stands as a witness to integrity. When your heart has been clean, protection surrounds you. That protection does not always prevent tension, but it prevents damage. What is coming may shake the surface, but it will not harm your destiny. There is also a shift occurring in your internal strength. You are less willing to tolerate half-truths, less willing to accept inconsistent energy. That is growth. Growth changes your tolerance level. What once seemed manageable now feels heavy. That heaviness is not weakness. It is maturity. Soon, a conversation will occur that clarifies everything. It may begin casually. It may even seem unrelated at first. But within that exchange, something will slip. A detail that was not meant to be revealed. A statement that contradicts previous words. And in that moment, the puzzle pieces will align. When they do, you will feel a strange calm. Not rage. Not shock. Calm. Because deep inside, you already knew. The seriousness of this event lies in its finality. After this clarity, you will not be able to return to the old dynamic. You will see too clearly. And once you see clearly, pretending becomes impossible. There may be distance created. There may be adjustments in how often you communicate. There may be boundaries set that feel unfamiliar. But boundaries are not walls of anger. They are gates of protection. Archangel Michael does not guard open chaos. He guards defined territory. And you are learning to define yours. Do not fear the shift in atmosphere that follows. When someone realizes their hidden motives are seen, they may withdraw. They may attempt to reverse roles. They may even try to portray themselves as misunderstood. Remain observant. Remain composed. Truth does not need to shout once it is revealed. It stands quietly and powerfully. There is another blessing hidden in this seriousness. As this connection recalibrates, your confidence will strengthen. You will trust your intuition more. You will no longer second-guess your discernment. And that internal trust will serve you in future decisions. This is bigger than one relationship. This is about refining your awareness. You are being prepared for environments where discernment is essential. Spaces where not everyone applauding you is supporting you. Spaces where leadership requires emotional discipline. This situation is training ground. The shout from heaven with the alarm. The unfolding revelation is the lesson. The repositioning will be the reward. Stay grounded in patience. Stay anchored in calm. Because once this truth fully surfaces, you will realize that what felt serious was actually necessary. And necessary moments, though uncomfortable, are stepping stones into stronger seasons. The next shift is closer than you think. There is a sacred intensity building now, and you can feel it even if you cannot explain it. The air around your situation feels charged, like the moment before a storm finally releases its rain. This is not chaos forming. This is pressure reaching its limit. And when pressure reaches its limit, truth breaks through. What makes this phase different from the earlier warning is that you are no longer preparing. You are positioned. The internal alignment has already begun inside you. You are thinking more clearly. You are observing more carefully. You are speaking less impulsively. That is not accidental. That is spiritual strengthening. Archangel Michael's presence around this situation is not loud anymore. It is steady. The shout was to wake you up. The silence now is to let you act with wisdom. When heaven intervenes, it does not create confusion. It creates awareness. And you are aware now in a way you were not before. The seriousness entering your life is about to reveal itself through behavior, not accusation. Watch how consistency begins to break down. Watch how small details no longer align. Watch how nervous energy replaces confidence. When hidden agendas lose stability, they show themselves through imbalance. You do not need to chase evidence. Evidence is servicing on its own. There is something else happening beneath the surface. The person connected to this tangent is beginning to sense distance in you. They feel that you are no longer as easily influenced. They feel that your emotional accessibility has shifted. And this shift unsettles them. Not because you have done anything wrong, but because your discernment has grown stronger. Growth changes dynamics. Sometimes people were comfortable with you when you were unaware. They were comfortable when you overlooked inconsistencies. But when awareness increases, the healthy comfort decreases. Jesus ordered you to see this before the next 15 minutes, and because timing is everything. If this exposure happened when you were emotionally fragile, it could have shaken you deeply. But now you are steadier. Now you are stronger. Now you are less attached to illusions. This is why the unfolding will not destroy you. You may notice an attempt to regain control. Subtle gestures of exaggerated kindness. Sudden compliments. Invitations to reconnect emotionally. Pay attention. When someone senses that truth is near, they sometimes try to repair perception before reality surfaces. Remain kind, but remain observant. The seriousness of this moment is not meant to make you cold. It is meant to make you wise. There is a difference. Coldness closes the heart. Wisdom protects it. Archangel Michael guards thresholds. And right now, you are standing at one. On one side is tolerance. On the other side is authority. You are stepping into authority. Authority means you no longer ignore what your spirit reveals. There will be a defining interaction soon. It may feel small externally, but internally it will mark a permanent shift. You will realize in that moment that you are no longer willing to compromise your peace for someone else's insecurity. That realization is power. Do not fear the emotional quiet that may follow. When a connection adjusts or distances, there can be a temporary silence. But silence is not emptiness. Silence is space being cleared for healthier alignment. You have been praying for elevation. Elevation requires lighter baggage. And here is something important. Do not internalize someone else's hidden comparison as your fault. If someone felt threatened by your growth, that is their insecurity speaking. You were not created to shrink so others can feel comfortable. You were created to expand. The seriousness that is unfolding is protecting your expansion. If this message is speaking directly to your experience, if you can feel that this is not random but precise, then engage with it openly. Like this video to affirm that you are choosing awareness over avoidance. Share it with someone who needs encouragement in a similar situation. Leave a comment declaring that you are stepping into wisdom. Subscribe to this channel and become part of this growing movement of spiritual clarity. Your engagement strengthens this space and helps these messages reach others who may be standing at their own threshold. And hear this clearly. What unfolds next will not require dramatic confrontation. It will require composed boundaries, short responses, clear decisions, calm withdrawal if necessary. The power will be in your steadiness. Archangel Michael's role now is not to shout but to stand guard. And as he stands guard, you will notice something surprising. The fear you once had about losing certain connections will fade. In its place will be relief, a sense that you are finally aligned with truth. This is not about winning or losing. It is about refining your circle. Soon, the seriousness that was announced will feel less like a threat and more like a turning point. You will look back and realize that this exposure prevented deeper complications later. It saved you from greater disappointment. It redirected your path before you invested further energy. That is protection. Stay composed. Stay alert. Stay grounded. Because the next interaction will confirm everything you have been sensing. And when it does, you will not be shaken. You will be settled. What is unfolding now is subtle, but it is irreversible. The seriousness that was once announced like thunder is now settling into reality like steady rain. You may not see dramatic confrontation, but you can feel the atmosphere changing in ways that cannot be undone. Something has shifted permanently inside you, and that inner shift is more powerful than any external event. The defining interaction is closer than you realize. It may not look like an argument. It may not even look like exposure in the way you imagine. Instead, it may come as a moment of realization so clear that it removes all doubt. A sentence spoken casually. A reaction that reveals insecurity. A contradiction that confirms your quiet suspicions. And in that instant, everything will make sense. You will see the pattern you once tried to dismiss. You will understand the subtle tension you felt in certain rooms. You will recognize the quiet competition that was never spoken aloud but always present beneath the surface. Archangel Michael's role in this phase is not loud defense but silent confirmation. When truth reveals itself, there is often a stillness that follows. That stillness is heaven saying, "Now you see clearly." And clarity changes everything. You may feel a mixture of emotions. Relief, because your intuition was right. Disappointment, because you hoped it was wrong. Strength, because you now know where you stand. Sadness, because familiarity is fading. All of these emotions can coexist without contradicting your growth. Growth is complex. The seriousness that was announced earlier was not meant to frighten you. It was meant to prepare you for this moment of internal decision. The external event may be brief, but the internal conclusion will be lasting. You will decide, quietly but firmly, that your peace is no longer negotiable. The decision will alter your behavior. You will speak less about your plans. You will share less about your progress. You will observe more before trusting fully. This is not paranoia. It is maturity shaped by experience. The woman connected to this situation will sense the shift. She may attempt one last effort to regain emotional access. She may attempt to redefine the narrative in her favor. She may even present herself as misunderstood. But you will no longer be swayed by surface explanations. Your discernment has strengthened too much. You will remain respectful. You will remain calm. But you will not return to the previous dynamic. It is the seriousness of this moment. It marks the end of illusion. Jesus ordered this message before the next 15 minutes, and because destiny was approaching this exact crossroad. If you had remained unaware, you might have carried misplaced trust into your next chapter. And misplaced trust in a new season can create deeper wounds. Heaven intervened early. Archangel Michael stands as guardian of transitions. When one season closes and another begins, he ensures that what crosses with you is aligned. And right now, alignment is being purified. There is something else you must understand. Not every exposure requires public acknowledgement. Some truths are meant only for your awareness. You do not owe everyone a dramatic explanation for your distance. Sometimes maturity is expressed through quiet repositioning. Distance does not require hostility. You may notice that your energy feels lighter after this realization. Conversations that once drained you will feel less necessary. Environments that once felt heavy will no longer hold the same power over you. That is freedom settling into your spirit. Freedom does not always shout. Sometimes it simply breathes. This experience will also refine your future discernment. You will recognize similar patterns faster next time. You will trust subtle signals sooner. You will honor your intuition without needing external validation. And that growth will protect you in ways you cannot yet see. The seriousness that entered your life was not destruction. It was revelation. And revelation is mercy. Mercy prevents deeper entanglement. Mercy exposes what could have harmed you later. Mercy separates quietly before damage multiplies. You may look back on this moment months from now and realize how pivotal it was. How one realization altered your boundaries. How one exposure redirected your circle. How one serious shift positioned you for greater peace. This is that moment. Stand firm in your clarity. Do not apologize for choosing peace. Do not shrink to maintain comfort. Do not ignore what your spirit now knows with certainty. Archangel Michael's earlier shout has fulfilled its purpose. You are awake. You are aware. You are aligned. And what comes next will not be confusion. It will be movement forward. The seriousness that approached your life has now transformed into wisdom within you. And wisdom is something no one can take away. The next chapter will begin quietly, but it will begin stronger. There is a sacred calm settling over you now, and that calm is not weakness. It is confirmation. The seriousness that once felt like a looming storm has now revealed its true purpose. It was never meant to destroy your peace. It was meant to redefine it. You can feel the difference within yourself. Where there was confusion, there is now certainty. Where there was emotional noise, there is now quiet strength. The exposure that unfolded did not break you. It clarified you. And clarity is one of the greatest forms of protection heaven can grant. Archangel Michael's assignment in your situation is transitioning from confrontation to guardianship. The line has been drawn. The illusion has been removed. The hidden tension has surfaced. Now what remains is your decision to walk forward without looking back. A woman connected to your environment may still attempt subtle communication. There may be small gestures to restore familiarity. But something inside you has shifted permanently. You are no longer emotionally available in the same way. You are no longer willing to ignore what hath been revealed. And this is not bitterness. It is love. The seriousness that entered your life carried a hidden blessing. It exposed what needed to be seen before your next elevation. Because elevation magnifies everything. If hidden competition had traveled with you into your next season, it would have intensified. Instead, it was addressed now, while you still had the emotional clarity to manage it calmly. That is divine timing. Jesus ordered your awareness before the next 15 minutes ended because the breakthrough approaching you required a lighter spirit. You are about to step into conversations, opportunities, and spaces where your focus must be sharp. Distraction from hidden tension would have drained your energy. Now your energy is returning to you. You may notice increased creativity, renewed motivation, a sense of internal peace that feels unfamiliar but powerful. That is what happens when emotional weight is lifted. When you no longer carry suspicion, your mind becomes free. Archangel Michael stands at the threshold of your next chapter, not with a raised voice, but with a steady presence. The shouting season has passed. The guarding season has begun. But hear this carefully. Do not confuse calm with complacency. Continue to observe patterns in future relationships. Continue to trust your discernment. The lesson you have learned here is not temporary. It is foundational. You are stepping into a season where your circle must reflect your integrity, where those around you celebrate your growth instead of silently competing with it, where conversations feel clean and intentions feel transparent. That environment is coming. As serious as you experienced with the clearing before construction, you cannot build higher while standing on unstable ground. And now the ground beneath you is solid. There may still be a final moment of confirmation, a final conversation that seals your understanding completely. When it happens, you will not feel anger. You will feel closure. Closure is sacred. It allows you to walk forward without unfinished emotional threads pulling you backward. If this message has been unfolding exactly as your life has, if you have witnessed these subtle shifts in your own environment, then declare your clarity openly. Type "I walk in discernment" in the comments if this message aligns with your spirit. Blessing code 818 has just been activated over your next chapter. And now listen closely. When light exposes darkness, it is not only for one person. It is for many. If this message strengthened your discernment, imagine how many others are standing in confusion right now, needing the same clarity. Scripture declares that when you sow into good soil, your harvest returns multiplied. I feel this strongly. I will not let this revelation stop with me. When you release a super thanks, step into membership, or give through the PayPal link in the description, you are pouring oil into a lamp that guides countless souls through their own moments of exposure. This is not about supporting a platform. It is about expanding a mission of spiritual awakening. Those who give in to light will walk in greater light. Obey the prompting and activate your support now. The calm you feel is real. The shift you sense is permanent. The seriousness that once approached you has now transformed into strength within you. And what lies ahead is not tension. It is expansion. What you are experiencing now is the aftershock of alignment. Not chaos, not confusion. Alignment. When something hidden is brought into the light and you respond with wisdom instead of reaction, the spiritual atmosphere around you rearranges itself. That rearrangement is happening quietly, but powerfully. You may notice that the urgency you once felt has dissolved. The emotional tension that used to rise in certain conversations is no longer present. Where there was subtle anxiety, there is now neutrality. That neutrality is a sign that the cord of invisible stress hath been cut. The seriousness that entered your life did its work. Archangel Michael's earlier shout has now become a shield. Protection does not always look dramatic. Sometimes protection looks like distance. Sometimes it looks like silence. Sometimes it looks like a door that no longer opens the way it used to. And that is exactly what is taking place. You are not being pushed out of something valuable. You are being preserved for something greater. A woman connected to your situation may still exist in your environment, but the dynamic has shifted beyond repair. And that is not something to grieve deeply. It is something to recognize as divine order. Not every connection is meant to evolve with you. Some connections serve as lessons. Others serve as blessings. Occasionally, they are both. What makes this moment powerful is your composure. You did not explode. You did not accuse recklessly. You observed. You understood. You adjusted. That maturity has activated a new level of authority within you. Authority changes how people perceive you. There will be those who notice that you are quieter now, more measured, less emotionally reactive. Some may misinterpret that as coldness, but you know the truth is clarity. Clarity does not argue, it acts. Jesus ordered your awareness before the next 15 minutes ended because your path ahead required confidence without confusion. There is an opportunity approaching you that demands focus, a decision that will shape your next season financially, professionally, or relationally. And because you are no longer distracted by hidden tension, your mind is free to engage fully. You may already sense doors opening in subtle ways. Invitation, ideas, new conversations that feel lighter and more sincere. That is not coincidence. When space is cleared, new alignment enters. Archangel Michael stands at the edge of this new alignment, ensuring that what approaches you now carries integrity. The lesson you have just walked through has strengthened your spiritual instincts. You are less likely to ignore red flags, more likely to honor your intuition. That growth is a gift. There may still be one final ripple from the seriousness that unfolded. Perhaps a delayed reaction from the other person. Perhaps a last attempt to reframe events. But you will not be shaken by it. Your internal foundation is steady. Remember this: when someone loses access to your energy, they sometimes test boundaries. Not because they care deeply, but because they feel the shift. Remain respectful, but remain firm. Your peace is not up for negotiation. What you are stepping into now is a cleaner environment. Conversations that do not carry double meanings. Interactions that do not leave you questioning motives. That type of environment accelerates growth. You may even feel creativity returning in areas you neglected. Motivation to pursue ideas you delayed. Confidence to express yourself more openly. Emotional freedom often unlocks productivity. The seriousness that once felt heavy has now become a catalyst. And here is something important. Do not carry suspicion into new relationships because of what you experienced. Let discernment guide you, not fear. Discernment observes without paranoia. Fear anticipates harm even when none exists. You have been refined, not wounded. Archangel Michael's role moving forward is quiet guardianship. You may not feel dramatic spiritual intensity anymore, but you will sense steadiness. That steadiness is protection operating in the background. The exposure you experienced will serve you again in the future. When you encounter similar patterns, you will recognize them quickly. You will save yourself time. You will save yourself emotional energy. And you will move with confidence instead of doubt. This is what growth looks like. The seriousness that entered your life was not random. It was strategic. It arrived at the perfect moment to redirect your circle before elevation. And now elevation is closer than you think. You may soon receive confirmation that you made the right choice by not reacting impulsively. It may come through unexpected support from someone else. It may come through new alignment that feels refreshing. It may come through a sense of internal peace so strong that it surprises you. That confirmation will seal this chapter. Stand tall in what you have learned. Do not minimize your growth. Do not question your composure. You handled this with strength. And now, as this season closes fully, you are stepping into one that feels lighter, clearer, and more purposeful. The seriousness has passed. What remains is strength. There is a powerful momentum building around you now, and this momentum feels different from anything you have experienced before. It is not driven by emotion. It is driven by clarity. When confusion leaves your environment, acceleration begins. And acceleration is exactly what is unfolding in your life. The seriousness that once approached you like a warning has now transformed into propulsion. What was meant to distract you has instead refined you. What was meant to quietly compete with you has instead strengthened your focus. You are thinking differently, moving differently, even speaking differently. People can sense it. Archangel Michael's guardianship over your situation has shifted from defense to advancement. When protection completes its assignment, progress begins. And you are in that progress stage now. There are opportunities forming behind the scenes, conversations being prepared, doors adjusting their hinges in your favor. You may feel a sudden urge to reorganize your space, to clear out old items, to rearrange your environment. Pay attention to that impulse. It is symbolic of the internal rearrangement that has already occurred. When emotional clutter leaves, physical order often follows. The woman who once carried subtle tension around you is no longer the central focus of your thoughts. That alone is proof of your growth. Where once there was analysis and second-guessing, there is now indifference. Indifference is not coldness. It is emotional detachment from what no longer deserves your energy. And that detachment is freeing you. Jesus ordered you to see this before the next 15 minutes ended because your breakthrough window was near. Breakthrough does not always arrive with fireworks. Sometimes it arrives as stability, as calm confidence, as clear direction. You are entering conversations now with sharper awareness. You are evaluating opportunities with better discernment. You are less impressed by surface charm and more attentive to consistency. That shift will protect you in ways you cannot yet measure. There is also an expansion happening in your confidence. You may find yourself speaking up more directly, expressing boundaries without apology, declining invitations that do not align with your peace. That is authority settling into your identity. Archangel Michael stands at your side as you move forward, not intervening dramatically, but ensuring alignment continues. Protection is now integrated into your awareness. You are less likely to tolerate subtle manipulation, less likely to ignore red flags, more likely to trust your intuition immediately. This is advancement. Something significant is approaching you soon. It may relate to work, finances, collaboration, or a new connection that feels refreshing. This new opportunity will contrast sharply with what you just experienced. Where there was subtle tension, there will be transparency. Where there was competition, there will be support. That contrast will confirm how necessary the seriousness was. If this message continues to resonate deeply with your journey, if you have felt the shift from warning to growth in your own life, then engage with it boldly. Like this video to affirm your alignment. Share it with someone who may be navigating hidden tension in their own environment. Leave a comment declaring that you are walking forward in clarity. Subscribe to this channel so you do not miss the next wave of revelation. When you engage, you strengthen this community of awareness and help these messages reach others who are standing at critical crossroads. The next phase of your life will require bold decisions. But bold does not mean reckless. Bold means confident. You will make choices now without over-explaining yourself, without fearing rejection, without needing universal approval. That is freedom. The seriousness that entered your life has now become a lesson integrated into your character. You are wiser, stronger, more observant. And because of that, the next level will not intimidate you. You may also notice that your sleep feels more peaceful. Your thoughts feel less crowded. Your reactions feel slower and more measured. That is what happens when emotional interference is removed. Peace restores energy. There may still be distant echoes of the past situation, but they will not disturb you. They will serve only as reminders of how far you have come. Archangel Michael's initial shout has accomplished its purpose. You were alerted. You were prepared. You were protected. And now you are progressing. The seriousness that once felt heavy has transformed into forward motion. And this motion will carry you into spaces that honor your integrity rather than challenge it. Keep moving. Keep trusting your discernment. Keep choosing peace over performance. Because what is ahead of you is not conflict. It is confirmation that you are ready for more. There is a quiet confidence surrounding you now, and it is not temporary. It is the result of walking through seriousness without losing yourself. Many people crumble when exposure arrives. Many react impulsively and create deeper wounds. But you did not. You stood still. You observed. You allowed truth to reveal itself without forcing it. And because of that, something powerful has settled into your spirit. Stability. The season of tension is closing fully now. You may notice that the person who once created subtle friction has either grown distant or adjusted their behavior significantly. That shift confirms that the dynamic has changed permanently. Whether reconciliation remains partial or distance becomes permanent, the imbalance that once existed no longer controls the atmosphere. Archangel Michael's assignment in your life has moved into a watchful stance. Not because danger is near, but because growth must be guarded. When you rise into stronger discernment, you become a greater target for distraction. But distraction will not succeed this time. You have already learned to recognize it. The seriousness that was announced at the beginning was never meant to trap you in fear. It was meant to awaken you to your own authority. And now that authority is evident in your decisions, you are no longer seeking validation from those who secretly measure themselves against you. You are no longer explaining yourself excessively. You are no longer shrinking to preserve comfort. You have stepped into quiet strength. Jesus ordered your attention before the next 15 minutes ended because this turning point was critical. Had you ignored the signs, you might have entered your next opportunity carrying misplaced trust. You might have overlooked subtle warning signals again. But now, your spiritual senses are sharper. There is something approaching you that requires this sharpened awareness. It may be a collaboration, a leadership role, or a personal relationship that demands emotional maturity. The lesson you just walked through has prepared you for it. You may begin to notice new people entering your space who feel different from past connections. Their communication is clear. Their energy is steady. Their presence does not create tension. The difference will feel refreshing, almost surprising, and it will confirm how necessary the earlier exposure was. The seriousness that once felt heavy was actually clearing space for alignment. There may be one final reflection you must face internally. Forgiveness. Not necessarily reconciliation, but release. Holding on to subtle resentment can create invisible weight. You do not need to excuse behavior, but you do need to free your heart from replaying it. Forgiveness is not weakness. It is liberation. Archangel Michael stands guard over your peace now, not over conflict. And peace must be maintained intentionally. Continue to observe patterns in all future relationships. Continue to trust your intuition without needing proof. Continue to prioritize your emotional safety. You are stepping into a season where your circle becomes smaller but stronger, where conversations are fewer but deeper, where loyalty is demonstrated through consistency, not promises. That environment will accelerate your growth. You may also notice a shift in how others perceive you. Confidence draws attention. Some will admire it. Some will question it. Some may attempt to test it. But you will not waver. The lesson has solidified you. The seriousness that entered your life was a refining fire. It burned away illusion, exposed the hidden motives. It strengthened your boundaries. And now, what remains is clarity. Clarity produces momentum. You are not returning to who you were before this experience. You are moving forward as someone more aware, more grounded, and more intentional. A transformation is permanent. There may be moments of quiet reflection where you think about how easily things could have unfolded differently, how a reaction could have escalated tension, how ignorance could have prolonged deception. But instead of regret, you will feel gratitude. Gratitude that you were warned. Gratitude that you listened. Gratitude that you remain composed. Archangel Michael's initial shout with a call to awaken. Now that you are awake, the journey ahead becomes smoother. Not because challenges will never arise, but because you now know how to navigate them. Something positive is forming on your horizon. You may not see it clearly yet, but you can sense anticipation. A door that feels promising. A conversation that feels aligned. A breakthrough that feels earned. The seriousness you experienced was preparation for this. Stand confidently in your growth. Walk boldly into new spaces. Speak clearly. Set boundaries without guilt. Choose peace without apology. You have crossed the threshold, and what lies ahead carries confirmation that you handled this season exactly as you were meant to. My chosen one, this is the closing of a chapter that began with a shout from heaven and ends with strength in your spirit. When this message first reached you, it carried urgency. It carried seriousness. It carried a warning that something intense was approaching your life. And now, standing where you are, you can see it clearly. Nothing came to destroy you. Everything came to define you. The seriousness that entered your life exposed what was hidden, clarified what was confusing, and strengthened what was weak. You did not collapse under it. You did not allow emotion to overpower wisdom. You stood still long enough for truth to speak for itself. That is growth. Archangel Michael's shout was never about fear. It was about preparation. And now his presence around you feels different. It feels settled, guarded, established. The turbulence has passed, and what remains is spiritual stability. Look at how far you have come in such a short span of awareness. You are no longer second-guessing your intuition. You are no longer carrying emotional tension from hidden competition. You are no longer tolerating energy that quietly drains you. You have stepped into a new standard for your life. And standards protect destiny. Jesus ordered you to see this before the next 15 minutes ended because the moment was critical. One decision, one reaction, one overlooked sign could have altered your next season. But instead, you were alerted. You were prepared. You were covered. The woman whose motives were once unclear no longer holds power over your peace. Whether she remains at a distance or adjusts her behavior, the dynamic has shifted permanently. You see clearly now, and clarity cannot be reversed. The seriousness that once felt heavy has transformed into authority. Authority in how you speak. Authority in how you choose. Authority in how you allow others access to your life. This is the real breakthrough. Not the exposure itself, but the maturity that followed it. You are entering a season where discernment will be your shield and composure will be your strength. You will no longer chase explanations. You will no longer overextend yourself for approval. You will move with quiet confidence. Archangel Michael now stands not as one shouting warnings, but as one guarding progress. The threshold has been crossed. The lesson has been integrated. The shift has been sealed. There is a new opportunity forming ahead of you. It carries peace instead of tension. It carries alignment instead of subtle competition. It carries sincerity instead of hidden agendas. And when it arrives, you will recognize it immediately because it will feel clean. That cleanliness is confirmation. The seriousness that entered your life was a divine filter. It removed what could not go with you. It exposed what needed to be seen. It strengthened what needed to mature. And now you stand lighter, stronger, clearer. Take a deep breath and recognize this moment. You have completed a spiritual cycle. You handled it with grace. You allowed heaven to intervene without forcing your own control. That is wisdom. If this entire journey has spoken directly to your spirit, if you felt the warning, witnessed the exposure, and now stand in clarity, then declare it boldly. Type "I walk in divine authority" in the comments if you receive this message. Blessing code 1212 has now been released over your next season. And hear this as a final instruction flowing from the very theme of this message. When heaven shouts, it is to awaken many, not just one. The word declares that as you sow, you will reap a harvest pressed down and overflowing, and today that promise stands alive over you. I feel this deeply. I will not let this revelation stop with me. When you send a super thanks, join membership, or give through the PayPal link in the description, you are sowing into a mission that pulls souls out of confusion and into clarity. This is not a casual offering. It is a prophetic response to divine warning. Those who finance the spreading of light will walk under open heavens. Activate your obedience and support this work now. The shout from heaven has fulfilled its purpose. The seriousness has done its work. And you are stepping forward not as someone shaken, but as someone established. Walk boldly. You are covered.